Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get right to it. Now, there are a lot of stuff that has gone on with this president. And you all know that if you've watched these videos, you can go back and look at any of the videos if you're new to the channel. You'll know that I have quite a bit of a disdain for Donald J. Trump. That I do not support Donald Trump. There's not hardly anything he has done that I think has been good for the country. I don't think he's been good for people that are disabled. I don't think he's been good for anybody. I don't think he's been good for minorities. I don't think he's been good for women. Sure as hell hadn't been good for the disabled community. But there are some things I would never do or never call for in order to get rid of him as president. One, violence. But as this video is going to be about, is wishing our economy would fail. Wishing that millions of Americans would lose their jobs. And that millions of people would lose their livelihoods in order for Donald Trump to lose his job. And this takes me to Bill Maher. Bill Maher, the other day, was on his show, and he got to talking about ways to get rid of Donald Trump. And here's the way he thinks, or one of the ways he thinks we should get rid of Donald Trump. He is quoted as saying from his show, which I saw this the other day, and I could not help but be a bit taken back. He said, "Can I ask about the economy? This economy is going pretty well. I feel like the bottom has to fall out at some point, and by the way, I'm hoping for it. Because I think one way you get rid of Trump is crashing the economy. Or is a crashing economy. So please bring on the recession. Sorry if it hurts people, but it's either root for a recession or you lose your democracy." And there's the problem. Yeah, I agree that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. I believe a lot of things he has done shows that. The threats, his attacking of our own allies, his attacking of rule of law, his attacking of our own people, insulting our own military. And no matter what happens in an election, he always blames illegals for his loss. Those are major threats to our democracy that he does on a daily basis. But to call for a recession, to call for people to wreck the economy simply because you want to get rid of Donald Trump, simply because you don't like him, is that not just one of the most un-American things you've ever said or ever heard, for that matter? For 8 damn years, I listened to my fellow liberals and Democrats whining and crying and bitching and moaning that Republicans were trying to crash the economy to hurt the first black president of the United States, Barack Obama. I heard that for 8 years, and I watched as they tried. And now that Trump's in the office, it's okay to do that? No. It is never okay to hurt the American people just because you don't like who the president is. If you don't like who the president is, in 2020, vote his ass out. Go to the dang polls and vote. You've got 2.5 years, just about, to get the ID and everything that your state may require. To book a ride, somehow, to get to a voting place, when I know in certain places that they have cut the number of polling places and made it to where certain groups of poor people cannot make it to the polls. If you're concerned about that, help those people get to the polls. Go pick them up. Drive them to the polls if you have to. but do not threaten the jobs and the livelihoods and the lives of millions of Americans simply because you don't like who the president is. There's some things in this world I would never do. I would never, ever beg for the economy to crash simply so a candidate I want to be president wins. I wasn't asking for it in 2008. I'm not asking for it now. I am glad that the economy is doing good. I want a strong economy. I want an economy that's good for everybody, from top to bottom. I want people to have, buying power. I want people to be able to go to the store and not be like, oh God, do I have to eat ramen this week? I want people to be able to afford good food, healthy food. I want workers to be able to go out and buy new products. I want people to be able to enjoy their life. I want the unemployment rate to be as low as possible. As long as people are getting paid a decent wage. I mean, could you imagine if we had bumped the minimum wage to $11 an hour 2 years ago? How well the economy would be doing even more than it is now? Could you imagine how good the economy could be rolling right now? If we would have bumped the minimum wage? If you would have done it over time, there would have been minimal inflation. You wouldn't be dealing with much more than you're dealing with now. But could you imagine how much more buying power people would have? You wouldn't have so many stores like J.C. Penney, Toys R Us, and all them going out of business. You just wouldn't. But I would never wish harm on the American people simply because I don't like Donald J. Trump. I don't like the man. A lot of the policies he's tried to enact over the years over the last year and a half, I guess it is, 500 plus days now, have been terrible. They're bad for the poor, and they're bad for the disabled. They're bad for the elderly. And these are all groups that I will forever fight for. You will always see me fighting for these groups of people. 1, because I'm poor. 2, I'm disabled. 3, I know a lot of elderly people. And 4, another group of people that I will never turn my back on is children. And his party just last week voted to cut $7 million from the CHIP program, the Childhood Health Insurance Program. And so my suggestion to my fellow liberals out there, do not listen to Bill Maher. Go to the polls and vote for people who will make keep the economy working, helping the American people, but at the same time, slowing his agenda on other things, on social issues and things like that, on welfare changes, on cuts to things like food stamps, Medicaid, Medicare, education, things like that. And then in 2020, go to the polls, go and vote, and vote him out if you think he's doing a bad job. But don't crash the economy for other Americans. My wife looked for a job for almost 4 years before she finally found one. And if you go hurting the economy simply to get rid of Donald Trump, that could put my wife out of a job and put us even poorer than we are now. And so I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to having to feed 2 people on $700 a month and $30 of food stamps. Because that's all I'm going to get. Because we've already used our food stamp allotment. And I don't think she can get any more. So how about this? How about we support the economy? We keep the economy thriving. We continue to help Americans, maintain jobs, buying power, and the ability to live their lives without fear of a failing economy. To my fellow liberals, let's not be the party of no. Let's not be the party of let's crash the economy to hurt the president. Let's be the party for the people. Democrats, you've got a lot to do to gain people's trust back. And the last thing you need to do is be hurting the economy when you're trying to do that. You angered a lot of people with how you treated Bernie Sanders. And I do believe he probably would have joined the fold, as it were, after the elections if he had been treated fairly during the elections. And now you're passing laws to block him out. The man caucuses with you, with your party, all the time, on almost every single issue. Yet you don't want him to be able to run for president for your party. I really don't understand that. But anyhow, let's not wreck the economy. Let's keep the economy going. I don't care who the president is. No matter who the president is, our economy needs to keep going. Our security needs to stay strong, so we can defend ourselves. I don't care who the president is. I would not wish ill will when it comes to our economy and our nation's security, simply to get rid of a president. Republicans did that for 8 years. Democrats don't be the same way. Anyhow, this has been the Big Rant Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the road.